the number one goal as to why you are on planet Earth. This is not what leaders are told. Leaders are told that they're here to give, to serve, to leave this world a better place, to leave a legacy, to help, all of these things. And none of these things are wrong. But the main goal as to why we're here is to receive. And whenever I say that, I'll get a lot of tilted heads. We are here to serve and to give and leave legacies, but it comes first from a place of receivership.
This is your coach, Bill Goodwin. Welcome to the Priority Living Podcast. Welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad you're here today with me. I have a friend and a guest that we're gonna have an incredible conversation. The pre-conversation already, as always, is great with this guest. So my guest today is a growth and high performance keynote speaker, best-selling author of Life Undeferred, a transformational coach who helps leaders, sales professionals, and high achievers unlock the next level of performance in business and life. By the way, he's also a former TV meteorologist, both in Phoenix and in the Minneapolis markets, followed by nearly 10 years of financial services. What a background. My guest today, Jerrid Sebesta, now speaks full-time across the country, helping organizations to strengthen leadership, accountability, resilience, and get results, mastering what he calls the internal game. We're going to find out about that. Also dealing with mindset, identity, personal standards that drive how people show up and perform. Jerrid Sebesta, welcome to the Priority Living Podcast, my friend.
I love it, man. Congratulations on a new venture, and it's always fun to chat with you. And I'm a big fan. So all the affections are mutual.
Well, I'm fanboying the other way as well, so it's mutual. It's so good to have you here. You have been on an incredible growth journey, and which led to this book. I have it here. I want to let everyone know, get Life Undeferred. But tell us about your journey. Just let's just jump in there, wherever you want to start, about your journey of how you got into this growth spurt space and now helping others to do the same.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm so happy to be here. This really started for me about 4.5 years ago. In fact, I talk about it in chapter 1 of that book, where I had a moment. It happened to be New Year's Day, 2022. I was on a walk with my wife, and I was 43 at the time. As you remember, we were just coming out of a pandemic. The world was still weird. And I remember saying to my wife on that date, or on that walk, literally on New Year's Day in snowy, cold, dark Minnesota, I said, I'm just done. I'm done doing it this way. I'm tired of living life this way. I'm so tired. I'm exhausted. And what I didn't realize is that I'd built basically an entire program of 43 years at that point of just kind of running away from uncertainty. I'll spare you the details. Came from a fairly dysfunctional childhood, was raised in a trailer home with a mother who loved me dearly, but struggled with mental illness, had an older brother that was an alcoholic. And they both actually passed last year, but grew up with a lot of uncertainty. That's all I can really say. I was loved, but there was just a lot of chaos. And so as a young boy, all of that chaos was around me all the time. And so the program that I created was that I'm going to do everything I can to stay away from that. And by the way, Bill, served me very well. It brought me a lot of success.
Sure.
I played college basketball. I was in the TV world for 12 years, was able to make a very big name for myself. And in a 12-year career, made it to 2 top 20 markets, got into the financial world. It was working. That's the problem with grind, Bill, is that like, if you are really motivated and dedicated, you put your nose to the grindstone and you work, you will get results. And I was 43 and I was tired. And I didn't know it at the time.
A word I like to use often, I don't know if this applies there, Jerrid, is the word you were depleted. You were tired, exhausted, depleted even.
Yes. Because it was all really me. It was all me. And I've since created a formula I call the receive formula. And there's one of the key pieces is letting go. And that was one of the key pieces that I was missing. And one of the key pieces a lot of leaders and high achievers miss. And it's interesting because the people that are attracted to my message, no kidding, I'm 47 going on 48 as of the recording of this podcast. Most of them, no kidding, are like 45 to 55. And I wonder why. And I'm like, I think it's because you can last in this world doing it that way for about 20 to 25 years. And then you're, to use your word, depleted. And then you got to find a different way. But here's the beauty in this. This is actually the way. This is the way, like, if you're depleted and you feel like there's another level for you, that's actually good news because God's trying to give you more. And there is a whole nother level, but it won't come in your current state. You can't get to that level by pushing more energy into that system. You've got to change the system. So just a quick, very brief little summary as to kind of where I've come from and how I've come here. But I'm experiencing this new system, and it's really fun to experience, but also really fun to teach other people as well.
That's great. Well, it's great that when you can, we can't give away what you don't have. So you've experienced this, you're continuing to experience this new system, as you say, and to help others in their journey as well is actually fantastic. So let's go back a little bit here. I know you're doing new work. We'll get to that. But the title of your book is incredibly compelling, called Life Undeferred. So first of all, what does Life Undeferred mean? And how did that message become so personal to you?
Yeah, it's a great question. It really is kind of a play off of words of how I looked at life, especially early on in that transformation where I felt like I was just deferring life. I kept waiting. I was in my mid 40s waiting for the world to kind of, be safe and feel like it was okay. And what I realized is that, time was just kind of clicking off the clock. I was living a very deferred life. And, when you're in your 20s and 30s, you feel like you're going to live forever. And then you get into your 40s and you realize, oh, I have a very finite amount of time left on planet Earth, and if I don't start doing these things that I feel my soul being called into, like they aren't just going to naturally happen by default. You've got to there needs to be some shifts that have to happen to make that happen. So again, it was kind of just a play off of words of life undeferred.
Yes.
But again, it does speak to a greater mentality that a lot of people have where it's like, it's someday, it's someday, it's someday. So many people, especially leaders, high achievers, they feel called into something bigger, but yet nothing changes. We kind of keep waiting for the world to validate us. And I want to tell you something, you're already validated. You're validated because you're a child of the King. That's what makes you validated. And when you actually step into that, and actually start pursuing that at a soul level, then you actually start to receive that next thing that you thought that you had to wait for or work so hard for. And so that message has evolved, but I still very near and dear to life undeferred. I felt like I was living a very deferred life. And the crazy thing, Bill, is that I was having a lot of success. That's the thing. And that's the thing that can be really scary for a lot of people, because success doesn't mean that you're living a life undeferred. It's how you are living with connection to your soul, who God created you to be.
Okay, that's great understanding of how you describe life undeferred. So, because so many people that are successful even will feel stuck. So why would you say that the problem isn't success? In your book, you say it's not success, it's alignment. What do you mean by that? And how can high achievers who often struggle with feeling stuck move forward from that place of being stuck?
Well, I'm going to say something you probably haven't heard on this podcast. It's probably not advice that you would get to answer this question. I would say, if you feel stuck, that's actually a really good thing. Like that's good. If you feel inner conflict, and by the way, feeling stuck is a really bad feeling. I mean, there's probably nothing, there's some bad feelings that we could list, probably the top 10, worst feelings to feel as a human being, but stuck probably top 10. Stuck is just, there's a disconnect between what I feel that your soul is literally longing for. There's been something that's been implanted for you in you, by your creator. And that force it wants to grow and expand, and your current life is not in alignment with that. And so that creates inner conflict. In fact, Harvard did a study. It said that the greatest inner conflict is living a life that's not true to yourself, right? So if you are experiencing that, a lot of people get down on themselves. They got to figure out what's the next thing to do. It's really a journey within to discover who it is they actually are, right? And so again, I want to give you good news. If you feel that inner conflict, that's actually a really good thing, because that shouldn't be there's something wrong with me. It should say like, wow, there's something more for me. You know what I'm saying?
So good. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's a distinction we have to go. I meet so many people, they're stuck and they're so frustrated. And then that induces shame, and they start feeling guilt, and then they feel down on themselves. They should be doing more. And I just don't believe that. I think that you are now this, God is now pressing into your life. So now you just have to open yourself to receive it. And through that process, that's where the alignment happens. This is not compartmentalized. A lot of people think they've got to figure it out, and then they've got to heal their inner child. They've got to go to years of counseling, and they got to find a different job, and they got to start a business. This all happens at the same time. These are all parallel journeys. But again, as we were talking with, before we hit record, I'm just so passionate about this word receive. It comes from an element of receiving. What you are being called into, you don't have to go do it and figure it out. You have to open yourself up to actually receive it. And that's a major distinction that I see that a lot of leaders and high achievers don't understand, because they didn't get to their position because they just sat there and saying kumbaya. They did it because they worked hard and they figured it out. And then that works, Bill, as they say, until it doesn't work. And then when they want to go to that next level, they don't know how to get there because they're relying on an old program to get them there, which was like push harder, get up earlier, stress more, have less peace, ease, happiness. And you might see a little uptick, but you'll never fully reach that next level. What I say, I'm like, why can't you 2 or 3x your output, your purpose, your alignment, your freedom, even your revenue? Why not make 2-3x money and actually do it with more ease, because you've switched your mindset where it's not something I have to do or figure out. It's actually something that I become, something that I actually receive.
Okay, this is so good. Okay, so let's lean into this a little bit more. I want to like unpack, how do we receive when you've been in the grind mode and you've been in the, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, make something happen.
Yeah.
How do you switch to this new program? That sounds very intriguing to me.
Yeah. When I do immersives and even keynotes, I'm working this in here. There's 4 major things. I'll just I'll go through these quickly, but you have to start here. If we don't understand these things, the formula won't make sense. But very quickly, the first one is that you have to realize everything's actually happening for you. I'm not suggesting that all the bad things, because there's a lot of people who have experienced a lot of trauma and some very incredibly horrific things that have been done to them outside of their control. I'm not suggesting those things happen for you and God created those outcomes. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying everything to this point in your life has gotten you to this point. And if we're paying attention, those things will actually help you elevate you to the next level. The second thing is that everything is a test. Everything's a test. And when I say test, I don't mean the cancer diagnosis that happened 10 years ago. I'm talking about the minute little tiny things throughout your day that cause you to run an old program. Because by the way, newsflash, your subconscious is actually running the show. You don't think it is, but it is.
That's right.
Science is telling us that 90 to 95% of what we're doing, how we're acting and reacting with our day, is completely subconscious programming. So that programming is what dictates our results, right? And here's the thing. Let's go back to this first one quickly. Everything's happening for you. I always make the illustration, like, imagine you're out on a little tiny boat in the middle of the ocean during a hurricane. What is life like for you if you're in that boat? Chaotic, stormy, loud, terror, right? There's wind and waves hitting you on all sides. And this is where most people live. I call it the 1%. Most people are living in this 1% where they're just acting and reacting. They're reacting to every little wave, fire, problem. A lot of people, they think that their life is filled with problems. I try to change that. I think linguistics is important. If you're listening to this and you think your life is filled with problems, please change that, right? Instead of problems, think of it like this. You just have a lot of tests. And maybe if you don't like that word, let's take it up a level. These are all opportunities. They're not just tests, they're opportunities. Because these are all opportunities for us to shift some internal coding inside of us. The third thing that you have to understand is that that coding is what creates your reality. Whatever the coding is on your internal system, it dictates the results that you get. Many people think that they get what they want. You don't get what you want in life, Bill. You don't. Some people think that they get what they think about. There's a book by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich. The entire book literally says, if you think about money enough, you will get it. I think there is some truth to that, but I got to tell you, if I can think about a Lamborghini all day long for the rest of my life, and there's nothing in this world that says that a Lamborghini has to show up in my garage. You know what I'm saying? So I think it goes deeper than this. I always relate, your life is kind of like a movie. You and I are old enough to remember watching movies on projector screens, right? As kids, right? And you can still remember the sound, right, of the projector. And that image was being shot up onto a screen, a wall. And that movie that you're watching, I correlate that's our life being played out in real time. And if I don't like what's being played on that movie, I can think about a different movie. I can talk to that movie. I can yell at that movie. I can scream at it. I can even paint the screen. I can do whatever I want to do to that image, and it will not change unless I go back all the way down to the film that's running on that projector. That's how our subconscious works. When we start shifting, and not even just our attitude, because a lot of people say well, I'm trying to be more positive. I'm not talking about having a positive mental attitude. I'm talking about the coding, the identity level beliefs that are even below our current belief system. It's deeper and it's fun. And I say fun, but it's really interesting to get down to these core level beliefs, because when people start shifting those, bam, that outer reality starts to shift immediately. And the fourth thing is that you have to understand that the number one goal as to why you are on planet Earth, and this is not what leaders are told. Leaders are told that they're here to give, to serve, to leave this world a better place, to leave a legacy, to help, all of these things. And none of these things are wrong. But the main goal as to why we're here is to receive. And whenever I say that, I'll get a lot of tilted heads in the crowd. I said, yes, we are here to serve and to give and leave legacies, but it comes first from a place of receivership. And a lot of Christians will kind of give me a little resistance on this one. And I just say, read John 3:16. God gave his only begotten son that all shall inherit eternal life. Another word for inherit is to receive. Our goal is to receive. He's the giver. We're the receiver. He's the creator. We're the created, right? If you really want to live like foundation, think of it like this. Our goal is to worship God. I cannot think of a better way to worship my creator than allow him to love me. If you have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. They can be good kids and follow all the rules, but if they don't allow me into their life for me to love them, there's something missing. One of the greatest gifts my kids can give me is they allow me to love them. They receive love from me. So we must understand that our goal here is to receive. Now, you asked the question, how do we break free from this old way of doing things? We have to get reconnected to our soul. We need to think big. We need to unapologetically want more. And what happens with a lot of high achievers is we start getting burnt out. We start we're not getting the results we want. We want to go next level, don't know how to get there. And so we kind of dumb down, I don't like to use that word, but we kind of dumb down our vision to match our reality. You know what I mean?
I gotcha.
We downplay our goals to match what we think is going to happen, because your brain thinks very logically, but your soul is infinite. Your soul is in the 99%, right? Let's go back to that little, that boat on the top of an ocean, right? What you don't understand while you're being tossed and turned by all the waves is that if you go down even 30 or 40 feet underneath the surface of the ocean, what's down there? It's calm. It's quiet. There's no movement. You might be down 20 or 30 feet, even though there's miles of water underneath you, and you don't even know that there's a raging hurricane above you, right?
That's right. Yep.
And so we've got to get tapped into that. We got to stop playing in the 1% and start tapping into the 99, which, by the way, is available to all of us right now. This is not someday. This isn't in some distant land in the far off future. This is right now.
How do we do that?
Well, it's a perception thing. I'm writing my second book right now. It's very, very primitive, but I guarantee you, it will be a chapter title somewhere early on in the book. And I say perception precedes reception.
Ooh, that's good.
Perception precedes reception. If our job is to receive, the very first step is we have to perceive that reality actually exists for us right now. I work with a lot of salespeople. And a lot of if you're in commission, everybody wants to sell more. Everybody wants to make money. And I work there's some genres I work with a lot of. I work with a lot of realtors, loan officers, a lot of insurance salesmen. And I ask them, I go, is there any lack of business anywhere in your backyard, in your business? Is there lack? And they're like, no, there is so much business out there. There's so much opportunity. And I says, and they'll ask like, well, how do I get it? How do I get it? And you know what I say to them? You're asking the wrong question. It's not how do you get it or where it is. Listen to me, Bill. It's when is it? When is it? Not where is it? When is it? And the first thing you've got to do to break this grind mentality is you have to understand everything that you want, need, and desire that God wants to graciously give to you. It exists right now. Because grind says, I have to make it come to fruition so in the future I get it. Receiving says it's all right here, right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So I'm seeing the new paradigm here, the whole focus on this receiving.
Yes.
It's a shift. It's a significant shift.
Yes. And again, that's the first step, because if we don't understand that everything's happening for us, if we don't understand that everything is a test, all the challenges, all the triggers, all the air quotes problems for people that aren't watching this or listening to it, we don't have problems. But if we think that all of our problems are stacked against us, this world is stacked against you and I, which by the way is the way I thought for 40 plus years, because every time I turned around, there was another problem. Every time my phone rang, it was a problem. And guess whose job it was to solve those problems? Me. It really wasn't, but I thought it was, right? So it's no wonder I wasn't receiving. And so my program took me as far as I could get it, and it brought me a lot of success, but I was 43, burnt out. And interestingly enough, Bill, let's just talk about it for a second. There's a certain level of money I could make in my sleep, no matter where I went, no matter what business I was in. It was laughable. I knew exactly how much they were going to offer me. It was the exact same number, no matter where I went. And I would joke with my wife. I'm like, it's like there is literally some invisible cap that tells people what they're going to pay me, because it's always exactly the same number. And no matter how hard I tried, I could not make any more money. Well, now I can look back and I'm like, well, no, duh. It was because that system could only produce that output. I had maxed out that output. There was no more, pushing more energy into the system could not produce any more income. So now what have I done in the last 4.5 years? I've changed the system. I've expanded the container. I now understand it's really about receiving. Well,
Yes.
Guess what's happened to my alignment? Guess what's happened to my fulfillment? Guess what's happened to my peace? Also, Bill, what's happened to my income? They've all gone up. In fact, they've all gone up, and I've actually increased my peace, because whether you know it or not, and I hope people are listening to this, you don't want more money. You know what you really want? You want peace. That's the cry of the human soul. No matter where I go, no matter what job
and I would,
people are at.
if I could, I would add with peace. People want freedom.
Absolutely.
Money and the thought of more freedom comes when I can be at a different financial place than maybe where I am or once was. I love the thought of peace.
The irony in that, and that's why the first step I walk people through is we have to reinvigorate. We have to get reignited with our desires, because I want people unapologetically wanting more. And when you connect with your soul, when you create not just a goal, but like an intention of who you want to become, and you attach that emotion of peace and freedom to it, here's the irony in this, Bill. That's actually how you make more money. You make more money when you create the space for it. When you experience the peace of having infinite amount of resources at your disposal, which you do. We don't think that. I didn't think that. I thought that I was always in lack, always striving for more. But that's why the perception always will precede the reception, because the greatest shift somebody can have in their world isn't the promotion, dude. It's not the increase in pay. You know what the biggest miracle is? It's when they perceive that it's already right here, all of it. It's all at their disposal. And when that shifts in your mind, boom, there will be like this field collapse of your reality, because you're like, oh my gosh, it's always been here, right? And so for 43 years, I was always striving, and then all of a sudden, over time, I was like, oh my gosh, it's been here the whole time. I was actually the problem. I was the one. And I thought the answer was push harder, stress more, grind more. And trust me, I work. I'm not poo-pooing work. I work hard. But at the same time, too, there's a release, and I understand the technology of receiving. There's a technology in this. Go ahead.
Man, there's so many thoughts I have with this. So great. Okay. What I want to do though is, for the sake of time, let's shift gears a little bit and let's focus on priorities, because I love talking with high performers like yourself when it comes to the area of priorities. So your message challenges people to stop deferring life. Now we're talking about receiving. How just talk to us a little bit about, how do purpose, priorities, maybe even identity work together to create this meaningful life that you're talking about?
When I talk about receiving, I'm not saying we sit around and do nothing, right? Like, it's both and. It's work and rest. It's maximum effort, but also maximum surrender. By the way, surrender is kind of part of a piece that I teach. I call it releasing, right? By the way, this is modeled in Genesis 1. God worked for 6, and then he rested. A lot of high achievers, they never rest. And by the way, anything that has to do with receiving really isn't going to make a lot of sense. It will be illogical. Like, logic would say the harder I work, the more I get. If my job is to accumulate and receive, then it would make the most sense that I never rest. But actually, what I've seen, the people that I help, when I start teaching them to actually release, boom, like the faucet starts turning on, right? Now, with that being said, that means that you're pushing the envelope, like you're going 100% in. There's maximum effort there, right? It's maximum effort and maximum surrender simultaneously. So you have to know what you're doing. You have to go to bed at night saying, I literally did everything I could possibly do. I served as hard as I possibly could. I left no stone unturned. I really did all of I can do. The key is I've done everything I can do, but if the results aren't up to me, my job is to show up. My job is to serve. My job is to do the best that I can possibly do, what I feel my soul is being called into. Now, forcing sales, no, that's not for me to figure out. Forcing people to change, no, that's not for me to figure out. I can't tell you how many people, I start to teach them this and they're like, well, I don't know how this is going to translate into increased business. And I said, doesn't matter. That's not up to you. That's his job. You can't force your phone to ring. You can't force being in the exact right moment at the exact right time where, like, you're at a coffee shop and bam, the person behind you starts talking and they're exactly the person who needs your help, or vice versa, or knows somebody that can get you to the next level. You can't force that. But you know what you can do? You can do what you're supposed to do. So again, when it comes to teaching priorities, you've got to figure out what are the most important things. And then you put maximum effort into that. And let's look at this from a technological space. Like, I was mulling on this over the weekend, Bill. So you're going to get kind of a dirty version of this because I haven't fully processed this. Going 100% in is so crucial. And I'm not talking 99. Like, a lot of people are 99% in, which, by the way, it's pretty good. But everybody knows there's a pretty big chasm between 99 and 100%, right? It's like you're kind of committed, or you're fully committed. You're all in, right? So I would encourage your listeners, whatever you're doing, make sure that you're doing it 100%. And even if you're in a job or a position or on a committee or whatever work you're doing, even it might not be exactly the thing that lights your heart up on fire, but when you do it 100%, you are opening the door to receive. And let me explain why. When we do all that we can possibly do, you kind of want to feel that emptiness, because then when you rest and you surrender, you allow yourself to be filled. But you got to get to that point before you can receive. That's why lazy people don't receive a lot. That's why lazy people don't have a lot. Our logical brains will say, well, they're not working for it and they're not, they're not persevering. Yes. But also, too, if I want to go to my next level, I need to put maximum effort in. I got to figure out what is the most important things that I need to do. By the way, we're recording this on a Monday. Now I've got a whiteboard just off the side of camera. Up until us hitting record, I'm going through task, follow up, email, bam, bam, bam. We will get off this call. I will hop on another call and bam, we'll push. And I do that. But then when it's time for me to rest and release, I'm all out. But what makes that magical is that I have emptied myself. It's just like breathing. You know this, Bill. Like you exhale, you give, and then you inhale and you receive. Genesis 1 says you work for 6, you exhale, and then you rest, and then you receive, right? And it's this filling, and it's expanding and growing. It's this beautiful thing.
I love the understanding of the exhale and inhale and the resting and the working. In my book, Priority Living, I have a whole chapter on what I call rhythm, which is really all about this whole aspect of, actually, it turns it on its head a little bit. In my book, I quote a gentleman named Mike Breen, who says, we are to work from rest, not rest from work. And the flip of that is right along the lines of what you're talking about here. It's but when we just go 5th gear, full throttle all the time, thinking push, we end up coming to a place of complete burnout and depleted. So it is this rhythm of rest and work, and I love that. I love that concept of resting from work instead of working from working from rest rather than resting from work.
Got it. But one caveat: when that means that when you are working, it's all in. Like
that's right. That's right.
There's a caveat to
that's
that, right? You know, by the way, if you look at the word recreation, it's actually recreation.
Yes.
It's actually like like let's just say it. I mean, okay, so we talk about the Sabbath in the Bible, right? With all due respect, people think that the Sabbath is I sit around and watch football all weekend long and like just lounge around, and that's not what that is.
No, it's not.
Like it's a reconnection. On my rest days, on my Sabbath, air quotes. By the way, caveat here, I work with a lot of high achievers one-on-one. One of the most powerful tools I teach them, I kid you not, is to rest. And as soon as but it won't feel comfortable, because why doesn't it feel comfortable? Because they've never rested, because they didn't get there by resting. But when I can actually say, but then plow ahead, and then at this time this weekend, I go, I want you to step away. That doesn't mean that you don't lift a finger. That doesn't mean that you don't, like take out the trash. But like you reconnect with that 99%. Remember that 99% is right below the surface. And for me, on my rest days, I'm spending a lot of time meditating, praying, reading, allowing myself to reconnect to that infinite source that we all have access to right now. And then what happens to the work that I did the previous days? Bam, there's like supernatural fire onto it. I'm recovered, and now it goes farther. And by the way, again, things that are the spiritual technology we talk about, it will not make sense, because it would make sense for me just to continue to work. But what I found out is I actually experience more peace, and I actually get farther faster. And this brings up another point, Bill. I want to bring this up because I've been mulling this over, and you'll love this. What is the number one emotion that you think God wants us to experience here on planet Earth? There's probably several, but like what's
gratitude is kind of what comes to my mind. But
think of an emotion, like what's a core level emotion? I think gratitude, you're right in line with it. But I would challenge it. Like, is it peace? I think He wants us to have peace.
Sure. I'd go with peace.
Yeah, like don't be afraid. Like, peace be with you. Like, He talks a lot about peace. Why that one? Is it because we can sleep good at night and we feel good about ourselves? Or I don't have a chapter and verse to, back this up. But is it because when we experience peace, that creates the conduit to receive? When we are operating from a place of peace, that opens up the door for us to actually receive more. And I'll just tell you from personal experience, I've gone through seasons where I was not operating from a place of peace. I was operating from the 1%. I was operating from fear, lack, scarcity, terror. And I prayed during those times. And I got to be honest, like the winds of change didn't blow. But then I get to a spot where I can tap into this deeper source that's always there, and I can feel that thermostat on the inner, operating system, on that nervous system calm down, and I can start to have certainty, and I start to see something that my fear and lack don't see. And then I pray, and then the floodgates open up and I receive, and I'm just like, I feel so connected at that point. So you asked a question off the top. He's like, how do we break free from this grind mentality? It really comes down to, we have to learn the art of receiving, and it will start with perceiving that it's actually all right here, and it's waiting for you to let it in.
That's so good. Okay, we got just a few minutes here, and I always want to take my guests to my 7 questions, which I call the priority round. This is rapid. We're not looking for long, extended answers, but I know you're going to drop some nuggets here. So the first one: what's one priority, Jerrid, that you personally protect, no matter how busy life gets?
I have to protect my headspace. And I've gotten better at this, where I can feel my headspace start to dip into that old program, and I have to stop what I'm doing and reconnect with my creator, reconnect with the 99%.
Excellent. Number 2, what's something successful people say yes to too often?
They probably say yes too often to more, and the way that they're actually going to receive more is by saying no.
That's a nugget right there. Number 3, what's one habit that changed your life?
The one that really did it early in my transformation was my morning gratitude walk. But I got to tell you, it wasn't the walk; it was what that walk produced, Bill. And I'll throw another word at your listeners that I preach heavily, and that's wholeness. Wholeness. When we are acting from a state of wholeness, everything has supernatural fire. It opens the door to receive. What does wholeness say? Wholeness says, I want it, but I don't need it. Wholeness says, I have everything right now. Wholeness says, my validity is not based on my production, my wealth, my net worth. Everything could be given to me, or everything could be taken away, and I'm still fully whole in this moment. And if you don't believe me, read Job. Job is a code for wholeness. Read it through the lens of wholeness, and you'll see it. I could lose everything today. I don't want to, but I could lose everything today, and I'm still fully whole.
There you go. Okay, Jerrid, what's something that you had to let go of to grow?
I want you to listen to what I'm about to say.
Okay.
I had to let go of my own fear. I had to let go of my old programming that was actually keeping me bottlenecked. I thought I had to make more money, then the fear would go away. I thought I had to pray away my fear. I had to let go of it. I had to let go of it.
That's so good. Okay. I think we've covered this a little bit, but what does rhythm look like in your life?
We nailed it. It's all in, but all out at the same time. It's this duality that we live in. And again, I want to make sure your listeners hear this. Surrender doesn't mean that you don't care. Surrender doesn't mean that you don't show up. Surrender is one of the hardest things for leaders to do, because it's so easy. It's such a paradox, Bill. Yeah. It's the easiest thing to do because you don't have to do anything, but guess what it will cost you? It will cost you everything. And the reason why many leaders have gotten to the place where they are is because we don't love it, but we have control. And so potentially your next level is actually not doing more, it's just letting go more. And you'll see a parallel in your receptorship at the same rate as you let go. And I've seen this dozens of times with the people I've worked with.
Excellent. Okay, two more. What's one sentence you want your life to say?
Oh man, these are tough. What's one sentence I want my life to say? I mean, I want to be known as a guy who is never satisfied. And I have now understood that this life is just one spiral staircase upward that has no limit. And the only limit is our own programming. It's our own thoughts and beliefs, because everything is here for us. And if people see that in me or can understand that, articulate about me, then I won.
All right. I like that. I like that spiral up, the potential. The potential is there. And the last one here would be, this goes to our listener today. what's one priority shift you would recommend people should make this week?
Again, I'm going to go back to receivership. Where are you actually bottlenecking your own ability to receive something bigger?
Mm-hmm.
And when you can start to identify that, by the way, your life will start to talk to you then, because you'll see these little tests everywhere. And these tests are actually for you. Remember that. They're for you, not to punish you in any way, shape, or form. It might be little things, it might be big things, but these things are all fighting for you. So I would just tell people to like be more aware and open up your life to receive the next level. But that's tough because it's going to require you to, perhaps, like I did, have to let go of a lot of stuff.
Jerrid, this is so good. Okay, where can people find you? We want we'll put all the links in the show notes here, but tell us where can someone connect with you if they want to connect with you directly?
Sure. Easiest spot. I love LinkedIn and I love Instagram. My website is just my name.com, jerridsebesta.com. And if people want to go deeper on some of these like deeper things, just DM me, please use Bill as a resource. He's got some great stuff. But if you're out there and you feel this inner conflict, actually, that we kind of talked about, this inner conflict, make sure that you find somebody that can help you kind of get through that. And I don't say get through it, but find it. Find it. And this is the life I prayed for, Bill, years ago. And I was like, I want to have a life where I get paid to have high level conversations with people. And I get to have these conversations all day, all throughout my week. And I get texts so much and people are like, you wouldn't believe what happened. And I love getting a text when people say, you would not believe what just happened, because there's something new that's showing up in their movie because they shifted something on the inside. And that's the coolest thing.
Love it. Yeah. Reach out to Jerrid. He's got coaching opportunities. He's an incredible keynote speaker. I've sat in on some of his keynotes. I highly recommend you reaching out to Jerrid, and this has been remarkable. Thank you for sharing this insights on life undeferred and this whole aspect about receiving. I think it's so great. And so thank you for being my guest today. And it's always a joy to call you one of my friends. I appreciate that. So if this episode has encouraged you or challenged you, I'd love for you to like, share, and subscribe. I know you know someone that needs to hear these words from Jerrid today. So make sure you share this episode, friends, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Until next time, live intentionally, lead powerfully, make your life count, and keep smiling. Thanks for joining me today. Until next time, I'm your coach, Bill Goodwin, reminding you to live intentionally, lead powerfully, and make your life count.